my friends. Today we are in the wild and we are looking at these cells as they divide. Okay, so let's take a quick look. We call this process mitosis. Here we go. We're going to start with this. This is a regular cell. He hasn't divided yet. We know that because the two centrioles are next to each other, and this little chicken McNugget here is the nucleolus. As long as you see all this, this is the same as looking at a regular cell. See how we have the centrioles together and there's a nucleolus on the inside. 10-4? So we call this phase interphase. Now what does inter mean? It means between. So why do we say this? Because this is what your cell is doing between splits, between divisions. Your cells live for about 100 to 120 days each, all right? That means you are in interphase between splits for 119 days, 23 and a half hours. Because the rest of the split that we're going to talk about here takes about 20 to 30 minutes at the end of the 120-day lifespan of a cell. 10-4? All right. So that's why this is not part of mitosis. Got it? This is what your cell is doing when he's just hanging around doing his thing. Got it? Okay. Now we're going into the first step. And that first step of mitosis is called prophase. Okay? And this is prophase. This is early and late prophase. Do not worry on my test. I will choose one of these. You just call it prophase. Alrighty? How can I tell we are starting to divide? Look how the two centrioles have moved from being together to being apart. And do you see that red nucleolus anymore? That's a dead giveaway that we are no longer in Kansas, Dorothy. We are no longer talking about a cell that's in interphase. We are now going into the first step of division, prophase. Alrighty? Now look what happened here. Not only have we lost the nucleolus and the centrioles are starting to move apart, they have now moved to the two poles, north and south pole, and look, no more nuclear membrane. And in fact, all the spaghettified DNA, which we call chromatin, is now twisted up into our little X shapes. See how they're getting twisted into the regular shape they're supposed to be. Alrighty? So that's a dead giveaway. Everybody cool? All right, very good. So that's prophase. This next one is metaphase. Let me show you. Meta, okay? And why is that? Because all of the DNA is in the middle of the cell, like this. Got it? They're all in the middle of the cell. Now here is where the centrioles come into play. You see these little pink lines, some of them are drawn red. See how they're coming down? Each one of these is a little collagen fiber that grabs one of these chromosomes. And when it's time to pull them apart, they reel them in like a fisherman reeling in a fish. All right? And those come from the little centrioles at the top and the bottom. And the centrioles are anchored in place by this little white star shape. Okay? Little asters. Okay? And they anchor these guys at the two poles so they can start pulling the chromosomes. But this is metaphase, where all of the chromosomes are in the middle of the cell. All right. Oh my. Are these chromosomes starting to move apart? Mm-hmm. That's our next step. That's anaphase. Okay? Believe it or not, ana means up. and they're moving up and apart from each other. What is the name of our class? Anatomy. Well, guess what? The word tomy, T-O-M-Y, means to cut, and ana means up, to cut up. And that's why we know what the inside of the body looks like, because somebody had to cut one open. Okay? All right. So anaphase. Split them up. And there are our little fibers pulling them apart. It's not important that we know all the names in 112. But you can see how we can start to pull those chromosomes apart. All right? Towards the poles. So this is early anaphase, and this is late anaphase, because they're pulled a little bit further apart. Everybody cool? All right. Now, next, indelicately reach across the table. Now, do you see how we are starting to reconstitute the nuclei, there's two of them, on both sides? This is our last step called telophase. Okay? Now, what does tele mean? Well, what do we call the thing that we can talk to each other over a long distance? Telephone. And you can see images from far away. Television. Because tele means distant, far away. Okay? So this is the last of the steps. All right? Telophase. And what we have here is our cell is starting to crimp in. All righty? We call this the cleavage furrow. Now, why do we call it the cleavage furrow? Because somebody was very lonely back in the old days and reminded them of somebody's cleavage. Okay? But that's how we know we're in telophase, because we are pinching in and getting ready to split the cell. Now, if you look over here, you see how we have now formed a membrane around both cells. We have officially split one cell into two different cells. It's part of telophase, but it has its own name called cytokinesis. All right? Because the cell had to do something kinesthetic, and that's what it did. It pinched in all the way and made two cells out of it. And look, our centrioles are on the ends, but this is now going to double up and become the next two for the next go round. Got it? And what we have here, after this, we go back to interphase. But two cells. We now have two new cells. And since they were just born, they start their 120-day lifespan again. Cool beans? All right. So, what do we need to make sure we know? That interphase is between splits. It is not part of your mitosis, but PMAT, P-M-A-T is. Okay? So if you want to remember it, just think of yourself, I was a bad little doggy and I pee on the mat. Okay? PMAT. Cool beans? All right. There you go.